Now, this judge that voted on behalf of a special master and then put on pause the Justice Department from viewing the documents, uh, if the FBI is reading and studying the documents, but the Justice Department is not, because in conjunction, you got to understand, the Justice Department and the FBI has to work in conjunction to understand the breach of laws that are violated uh, in regards to the investigation. In other words, to understand, the FBI needs guidance from the Justice Department as far as regulations and stipulations in the law, and that goes in conjunction with the FBI reviewing the secret papers. Uh, and if the judge impedes both departments from researching, if it has to do with nuclear weapons, which the media says it's confirming that these papers are classified, and some of it has to do with super weapons. So if it has to do with super weapons, and the judge is impeding the investigation, then she can be removed by the Senate. Uh, she can be impeached for endangering the national security of this republic. If let's say if China espionaged America's archives to find out intel about America's nuclear weapons, and let's say they espionaged it off the Pentagon. Let's say the Russians, along with the Chinese, uh, hacked into the corporations and got the archives of, not only hack into the personal devices of members of government, whether they be representatives of Congress or the Senate, or whether they be archives of the Pentagon, quadrains of Pentagon compartmentalized technologies of nuclear weapons. If the FBI is researching this, and and the Justice Department is not allowed to research all the archive documents that were found in Mar-a-Lago, then that would impede the FBI from working in conjunction to resolve the issue uh, expediently. And so by impeding, by the judge stepping in between and impeding the Justice Department, that is not only delaying the process of investigations, but is in jeopardizing the republic from weapons of mass destruction from adversary nations that might use those type of weapons. And if we don't know how to proceed on with the branch of the Justice Department and the FBI and the CIA, then the judge, in a way, is impeding and jeopardizing the national security of this republic, and not only this republic but other nations abroad when it comes to nuclear uh, defense. So it's beyond her purview of power within her jurisdiction to stand in the way of this nation defending itself from nuclear weapons, but also our allied nations from defending themselves from nuclear weapons. Because this espionage ring can be still in effect not only in this government with these type of hacking uh, formats that adversary nations use against America, but it can also be implemented with other countries around the world that are our allies, like the European Union and NATO. So it's not only the judge is delaying and impeding the agencies, the national security agencies of this government from resolving the issue, but she's also delaying the possibility that for us to safeguard our allies abroad that are united, that are aligned with America's interests, it might be putting in danger their archives. Because if we don't know how to defend ourselves from foreign adversaries hacking into our systems to espionage the Pentagon on nuclear weapons, then what is to stop China and Russia from doing the same thing to the NATO alliance? to hack into their systems, to espionage their technologies, to espionage their politicians' archives of communication devices. So for the judge to impede, she's not only committing treason upon this republic, but she's committing treason upon our alliances with the European Union, because for her to impede and to stand in the way of the national agencies defending this nation against weapons of mass destruction is not only jeopardizing this nation, but also our allied nations throughout the world. So it's beyond her purview. She can get impeached and charged with high crimes and tossed into jail herself. She could be demoted, meaning impeached from the bench, and she could be tossed in jail for not only committing that type of sin of impeding and obstructing the agencies of this country, the security agencies of this country, from resolving the issue as fast as they can, but she's also delaying the clock, the time, the clock for swift action, which is indirectly jeopardizing the national security of this nation from weapons of mass destruction, and the reverse engineering of our superior weapons capabilities, but also she's leaving open the vulnerability of the European Union and the NATO alliance with their weapon capabilities too. So she can be tossed into jail for life. She can be tossed into jail for life for obstructing and impeding the security agencies of this country from expediently resolving the issue and defending this nation from harm's way, and defending our allied nations from harm's way throughout the world. That's it's a real serious issue when you talk about weapons, the most superior weapons on the world in the planet throughout the world. And when the agents, it's appalling for her to stand in the way, because she thinks that the stigma is affecting Trump's vanity with repeated charges. She said that Trump repeated charges on Trump is creating a stigma, meaning his vanity, his reputation. That for her defending his vanity, meaning her arguing the stigma case, issue of stigma, because he's being repeatedly charged with crimes. She's inadvertently subverting the national agencies, security agencies of this nation, to resolve the issue as fast as they can when it comes to securing these archives of classifications and figuring out what is the fallout, the total fallout of information that can be in written down in those documents. In other words, it don't take nothing for Russia or China to implant an employee in the Trump organization by hacking into the human resource department and just inserting an employee into the Trump organization to espionage this evidence archives. And besides that, even if there was no spies in Mar-a-Lago, there's still classified documents that can jeopardize directly the national security of this nation if for whatever reason these documents get lost, for whatever reason they end up in the wrong hands. So, like I said, if this judge is impeding all the national security agencies of this nation from expediently resolving the issue with fallouts and tracing back the archives and to see if there was any breach or any especially those 40 folders that are missing with top compartmentalized information. You gotta understand, Judge, if that judge stands in the way of the FBI, the CIA, the Pentagon, the Oval Office, if she stands in the way and she endangers by obstructing the investigation, by impeding the investigation, delays the investigation, she can she can put in jeopardy the national security of this nation. There might be methods in ways and methods in those documents that can serve and guide the FBI and the CIA and the Pentagon, Homeland Security, and the NSA and the White House to act in real time to deal with the ongoing espionaging of malicious bots that China and Russia has embedded into this nation's telecommunication grids and devices. Smart devices, whether they be smartphones, laptops, desktops, supercomputers, quantum computers, and these bots keeps on exporting espionage evidence to those nations, and we don't figure out how to deal with these type of breaches of national security issues, and she obstructs the ability for the FBI to obtain a better understanding of this situation, of this subject, then not only can Russia and China hack into our telecommunication grids and implant sleeper bots, hibernating sleeper bots that can espionage not only the intelligence of the closed door hearings behind Congress in the Senate within the committees, uh, but also it could give them the ability with these hibernating bots to keep on hacking into the Pentagon and into the Homeland Security and into the archives of the CIA. Uh, these bots can easily exist and be implanted in the Amazon computer clouds for the CIA archives. Like, there's a lot of different scenarios that can be playing out in real time, and this judge is delaying the government from securing our nation. And not only can this intel be spied upon by China and Russia, but they can also use this classified hacking systems of malicious bots to in real time not only hacking America's systems of intel archives, but also repeat the same thing. Because you got to understand, Russia and China has these same bots in Europe, within the European Union and within NATO. The same malicious espionaging uh, hibernating bots exist in Europe. So for this judge to stand in the way of the intel agencies from comprehending the situation better, she's putting in direct danger from these adversary nations bleeding our intel through our nuclear defense capabilities and our covert policies within the within the Senate and the Congress closed door hearings meetings, as far as policies are concerned behind closed doors. All these bots are geared to do that. They're geared to do that, to espionage the overall intel of a government. And so for the judge to impede all these agencies, she can be committing treason. Indirectly, by her ignorance, committing treason by betraying this nation to an adversary nation like China and Russia, by her lack of good judgment. In other words, she could be disbarred, removed from the bench, and tossed into jail. And for that reason, that this pertains to America securing its most classified information from foreign hackers when it has to do with nuclear and superior weapons, super weapons, and how China and Russia are using bots to hack into the American telecommunication grids. They are doing the same to Europe. So this judge cannot, it's not in her jurisdiction to judge this case. That's why Justice Garland has to take this to the Pfizer court. All this classified archives and all the boxes that were found in Mar-a-Lago and the 42 or 41 folders that are empty, all that has to be tried in a Pfizer court. It is not in the preview of a public court for this type of arguments to be argued. It not only jeopardizes our national security for this to be in the public courts, but it also jeopardizes our allies throughout the world and their national securities for a judge in Miami to be playing games with this type of classified archives. So, Justice Garland and the Justice Department, Attorney General Garland, you have to remove this judge from the proceedings and file this case in the FISA courts, because these archives don't belong in a public courtroom. This is not for public consumption. This is not for the media to force a judge to play games with national security, not only of this nation but our allies throughout the world when it comes to weapons of mass destruction. Justice Garland has to remove this case from the public courts, and he has to file this case in FISA courts. And that's the realm when you talk about behind closed doors in the FISA court, and y'all can debate about the classified archives that were found in Mar-a-Lago and how that can relate to the bigger picture, which is how is Russia and China having the ability to reverse engineer or hack into our telecommunication grids, not only of this nation but of NATO. So for that reason, this Miami judge is beyond her pay grade. It's beyond her power to judge this case. For that reason alone, the Justice Department shouldn't even have to ask this judge for permission for anything. Justice Garland is within the laws to file this case with the FBI and the Departments of National Security, the CIA, NSA, Pentagon. Y'all have to file this case in the FISA court and remove it from the public court. And all the archives that were found in Mar-a-Lago, all the boxes and everything that were in the boxes, and all the documents that were seized by the FBI, all those has to be processed through the FISA court, not in the public court. And I'm going to call now President Biden and inform him of the necessity for Justice Garland to remove himself in this case from the public courts and to file it in the FISA courts. And if this judge doesn't allow it, then the Senate can vote to impeach her from the bench and charge her with high crimes of treason.